Prologue, 1888, 1. Her memory was a ghost. It was ubiquitous in his mind, yet it offered him no peace. He would gaze down into the lake and find specters staring back, beckoning him towards the murky depths he'd been yearning to sink into. A deep sigh escaped his feeble chest, the same chest she would lie on during those warm summer nights before they had Sammy, when the trees would rustle in the evening breeze. "Soon, my love." His voice was hoarse and frail from non-use. He turned back to descend the lighthouse's spiral steps when before him was the nurse, middle-aged, and her face was etched with solemnity. The weary old man knew what that look meant. He knew Patricia far too well not to. "How much longer?" The nurse barely looked up from the floor. "Hours, if that." She trailed off as she put her hand on Reginald Dodger's arm. Her face was pale and sympathetic, and Reginald gave her a smile, as much of one as he could muster under the circumstances, and they walked down the steps together. 2. The sun set slow that night, slower than normal for late April. Sammy could barely open her eyes to see it. Reginald hoped his daughter could feel the rays of light drift down her face as the hours passed. Her time in this world had come to an end, and he would have to carry on. He would have to breathe. He would be forced to watch the sun rise again on an emptier world. An unkempt strand of brown fluttered onto her face as her breathing became more uneven, and Reginald gently pushed the hair from her eyes. He tucked his weary daughter in tightly with all her favorite toys and snuggies before reading to her a bedtime story as she fell asleep the final time. 3. Reginald knelt beside her grave and placed a rose gently next to the headstone. Sammy Dodger, 1883, 1888. Her headstone was a stony gray and outfitted with her favorite toys that he laid out symmetrically around it. It became a sort of half-moon pattern of odds and ends, with her stuffed buddy in the middle. And if the adjacent lake were drained, Reginald could fill it again with his grief. Only a few feet to his left was her mother's headstone. Amanda Dodger, 1846, 1883. There he stood, the only one left alive between the graves of his two loves. After what felt like hours, he stood up and made his way back to the lighthouse. 4. A full moon accompanied Reginald that night as he lingered at the top of the lighthouse where the massive amalgamation of wood and oil burned brightly. The moon hung there, and to its right, deep black storm clouds were hurriedly rolling in. The heat of the fire counteracted the chill of the night, despite his attire of long, slick black pants and a black overcoat. The stairs behind him creaked, and he jolted around. "Hello?" he asked into the shadows.
"Knew I'd find you up here,"
a voice replied from the darkness of the stairway. Suddenly, a small brown object entered the light, and Reginald instinctively caught it.
"So your little bitch is finally gone, it seems,"
the voice said with an air of pleasure that made the hair on Reginald's arm stand up.
"Old man Dodger is left all alone. Poor thing."
Reginald's grief immediately and palpably became rage, white-hot and entirely unfamiliar. It rose up in him like a tsunami. His gentle shores were awash with frothy hatred. He held up her stuffed bunny. "This is hers," he cried.
"Like she needs it anymore,"
the man from the shadows replied giddily. The callousness to his words stung Reginald, and before the man in the shadows could inhale a breath to continue his rueful laughter, Reginald was at his throat. The clouds had come, and they cracked as well. Huge, vibrating rolls of thunder quickly followed the snaps of lightning outside. Reginald wrung his hands around the now pleading man's Adam's apple and squeezed. He held tight for so long that his grief, yes, still alive, hid behind whatever furniture it could find in the mourning halls of Reginald's mind. The man slumped down, lifeless. This man was not alone, however. Reginald heard a quiet and brief, "What?" come from the staircase as footfalls echoed down the lighthouse steps and disappeared with the thud of the door below. This seemed to shock Reginald from his stupor, and he looked down at the dead man at his feet, looked at his hands, then picked up Sammy's stuffed bunny. He stroked the dirt from its floppy ears as the wild storm outside cracked with a pertinent energy, like the black clouds that had just formed above the lake were daring something to happen. He felt a stab of calm, hit him briefly, as he held the bunny the same way Sammy would during her silly fits. Without saying a word, Reginald held the mass of fabric and ribbon to his chest and leapt from the lighthouse. As the ripples cascaded and faded in the water, so did Reginald Dodger from this world.